Hello everyone, this is a video lecture for College Algebra Math 1314 Section P.1. So this is the very first video lecture in our Math 1314 video lecture series. We're going to be starting with Chapter P and Chapter 1. We will start with P.1, but there's a Chapter P and then there's a Chapter 1, and we kind of combine them. In the Chapter P and 1 sections, you're going to be seeing a lot of review content. It's supposed to be pretty easy. Hopefully you've seen it before. If not, that's no problem. We're going to be learning it. That's fine. And so P.1 in particular is going to be a lot of simplifying, plugging stuff in, pretty simple stuff. And so let's just get started. And here's the very first problem. I've already written them all down. So I have a math expression here, and then x equals 8. And they say evaluate the algebraic expression, give the values of blah, blah, blah. But really, what they're trying to say here is plug it in, or substitute, or replace, or something like that. So wherever you see an x, now you're going to put an 8. So 3 times 8 plus the 3 divided by 6 times 8 minus 24. And so now we got to simplify the expression some. So we got 8 plus the 3 is going to be 11. And then we got 6 times 8 is a 48, and then minus that 24. So notice that we have here a 33, and here on the bottom, what we have is 24. So we're basically done here. This is the answer, but they want this answer as a simplified fraction. A simplified fraction. So basically, in a way, we need to keep going. And so I'm going to simplify this down for you. I try to think of what number they both would have in common, and I think they both have a 3. So that'd be a 3 times an 11, and this is a 3 times an 8. And so you can cancel your 3's out, and there's your answer, 8 over 11. There you go, you're done. That was it. I would say that this simplifying part can easily be done in a calculator, and you can use any kind of scientific calculator you got laying around or graphing calculator. That's all fine. But really, as we keep moving on in the class, I'm going to recommend going to desmos.com for all your calculator needs. They have the scientific calculator, which will do this for you, no problem. Very simple to use. They got the graphing calculators, which we'll be using in this class a lot. And then they have the matrix calculators also, which are going to come up in this class later. So desmos.com has everything you ever needed. Don't go and buy a calculator. You got the calculator there, and it's the best calculator in the world. So there you go. Okay. So next problem. Let's keep going. So next problem, number 2. We've got a math expression, same kind of thing, and we got x and a y, and so they want you to plug it in. So everywhere you see an x, you're going to put a negative 3. Everywhere you see a y, you're going to put a 6. And so we got the negative 3. We have a 6, negative 3, 6, and then 4 times negative 3. I'm using parentheses for all my stuff here because I just want to indicate, hey, I plugged something in. It's not really required. We were talking about calculators just a few seconds ago, and what I would say is you can actually just type this into your calculator right here. You can go to desmos.com, go to the scientific calculator. If you know what you're doing when you're typing this stuff out, just type this and you get your answer. You're done. Very fast and easy, no problems. But I would say that that has a lot of room for error because what if you mistype something? It's kind of complicated. So what I'm going to be doing in these video lecture series is a little bit of a mix. I'm going to be using a lot of by hand and a lot of calculator, kind of just as I feel, whenever I think it's appropriate. And that's okay. So you can use more calculator than me. You could use less calculator than me. I'm okay with whatever. So I got 4 times the 3 is going to be a negative 12. And then we got plus 6. Over here we have the negative 18. And if you notice down here, 2 negatives make a positive. And again, 4 times 3 is going to be a 12. So in the top, what we actually have here is going to be a negative 6. And in the bottom here, what we actually have is a negative 6. And so the 2 negatives will cancel, make 6 over 6, but we already know what the answer is for that. It's a 1. Your answer is 1 because 6 and 6 cancel, make a 1. Very simple, no problem there, easy problem. Next problem, number 3. So there's a little bit more wording here. They got a formula, C equals 5/9 times F minus 32. What they're really trying to talk about here is Celsius and Fahrenheit, and they're wanting to convert it. And so given that I have a Fahrenheit, I can go and find Celsius. Now, if you know anything about chemistry, which I know very little about, but if you know anything about this stuff, 30 degrees Fahrenheit is actually 0 degrees Celsius, and we're done. So if you know what you're doing, you just pop it in. But really, I want to show you what we're doing here. So 5/9, and then we got 32 minus 32. In this very particular case, what you get is a 0 here. And we all know that anything times 0 is a 0. And that's how we got our answer. It doesn't always happen this way. You're not always going to get a 0 for the answer, but it's just convenient this time, I suppose. If you can't figure it out, use a calculator, of course. You can simplify it down. I don't think you're going to get a decimal or anything, but it's a possibility. And then, of course, you can always just go to your favorite search engine and say, blah, 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 Fahrenheit to Celsius, and it'll give it to you. I wouldn't say that's good for your exam, and that's why I'm not going to show it to you. But, I mean, if you're just on your homework and trying to figure it out and kind of playing around, it's whatever. Okay, number 4. It says, rewrite without absolute value bars. So that's kind of a little weird. I don't know what they're asking for here. And I got to make a recommendation at this point. So there are a few questions that will be confusing in the way they're asking it. And this is a perfect example. And so I always stop on this problem and kind of talk about it. What I would say is go ahead and get it wrong. Get this problem wrong 3 times. And I want the program to come back and give you the answer so that you can see what they have and you can mimic it in a way. Now, I don't want you to think of it as cheating. What this is there was a problem that I didn't understand what they're wanting in the end. And so I went and got it wrong so I could see what they're wanting. What do you want from me? And so now I see kinda. It looks very similar, but things have been moved around a little bit. And so that's the answer right here. If you were to type that in, it would work. And we're going to get that here in just a second. Of course, whenever you go back and try to do it again, it'll give you a new randomization, new numbers. But at this point, it should be pretty easy to complete. So what's really going on here? What's going on behind the scenes? Well, these absolute value bars are making it positive. So whatever number you had, it's going to make it positive. So here's an example. Let's just say I had 3 in absolute value sign. And yeah, the answer is going to be a 3 because it's already positive. It's going to stay positive. But what if I had like a -3? Then my answer would be a positive 3. It changes a negative into a positive. If you have a positive, it stays a positive. And so very simple stuff here. I just want a positive answer. I just want a positive answer. And so what I'm going to show you is that I'm going to use a calculator to get some decimal action here. Square root 7 minus 5 this is off screen, but I'm just kind of doing it here. I got a negative 2.354. And so what they're really trying to say here is that we got the absolute value of negative 2.354. And what would be the answer to this? Absolute value, what is that? It's a positive 2.354, right? That's your answer. Well, they don't want decimals. They want an exact expression somehow. And so I need to change this into a positive, but retain the square roots and all that kind of stuff. And so all I'm doing here, there's a few ways you can think about it. All I'm going to do is just flip these two guys, and it automatically gives you that positive 2.354. And so how is this working? Well, just as a quick example, let's say I had a 2 minus 3 over here on the side. That's a negative 1. But what if I had a 3 minus 2? Now it's a positive 1. All I did was I flipped my numbers, and it gives me the opposite sign. And that's perfect. So there you go. That's how you do this problem. It's a little weird. It's okay to get it wrong 3 times. So go and check it out. New randomization, and that way you can kind of see what they're wanting, okay? That's my recommendation. Keep cruising. So another one. We got absolute value of some lines and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's kind of weird here. In fact, a lot of times whenever I was doing randomizations, I would get some like an 11 or something over here, and it would cause the whole thing to be just a lot of horizontal and vertical lines. It just is very strange. Um, my point is that it looks weird, but it's really not too bad in the end. What we're going to do is break this down into smaller components. So what's the absolute value of negative 10? Well, it's positive 10. Bring down your minus sign. Haven't changed that. What's the absolute value of the negative 7? Well, it's positive 7. And so if I try to simplify this down a little bit, notice that we have this minus, a positive, whatever. Really what's going on here is that you do have only one negative, and so you retain its sign. And then, of course, we got 10 minus the 7 is a 3. What's the absolute value of 3? It's 3. Yep, that was it. Very simple, but you have to break it down. Again, could you just type this whole thing into a calculator? Sure, but I would say that doing this one in a calculator is much harder than some of the other ones because the absolute value signs are everywhere, very confusing. I would also say that on the homework itself, it doesn't quite have the bars that are bigger here to kind of distinguish. It just looks like a whole lot of lines, kind of hard to read, okay? So just be careful with that one. Number 6, and so absolute value of x minus y, and they give you what x and y are. Well, you plug it in, and this is no different than what we've already done. You could use the parentheses on both of them. I do recommend it, but it's not required. What you are seeing then is a 4 and then 2 negatives make a positive 3. And so 4 plus 3 is 7. And what's the absolute value of 7? It's 7. And that's it. Pretty simple. No problem there. Next problem. So we got number 7. So this one is not a plug it in, not like a single get an answer. You can't even use a calculator much, really. This just says simplify. And so what they want here is an expression with y's and numbers. Okay, so it's not like you'll just get an answer. It's not like 2. The answer is 2. No, it doesn't work like that. You actually have to do the math. So here we go. I'm going to distribute the 8 and distribute the 3. Okay, so I want to simplify this down. The first step is distribute. After that, what I'm going to do is combine like terms. And you kind of just keep alternating between the two depending on how difficult the problem is. So 8 times the 5 is going to be a 40y. And then 8 times the 7 is going to be a 50-something. Again, always just double checking myself. This is a 56. I'm using a calculator just to verify. That's okay. I know that you already knew that answer. And I know I knew that answer. But it's okay to verify and check because you don't want to get it wrong. Especially on tests and stuff. So 3 times 5 is 15y. And 3 times 6 is 18. Okay, so I just kind of wrote it all out. No more parentheses. It's a little bit more straightforward. And so what we did here was distribute, and now the next one is combine like terms. And so basically these y's are going to be grouped together, and then these numbers, I call them number numbers because there's a lot of numbers, so these are actual numbers, and they'll be combined together as well. So combine like terms. We got the 40, and that's going to be a positive 15 if you see that, so plus 15 actually makes a 55y. And then with my numbers, again, I'm sure I could do this in my head, but I'm just going to verify a negative 56 plus the 18 on the calculator is giving me a negative 38. It is okay to use a calculator. We're just doing just doing the math class. Math classes use calculators. Go figure. All right. So that's it. Simplify was distribute and then combine like terms. Let's do some more of that. So same kind of problem here. It actually looks like a copy-paste nearly. I'm going to distribute the 8. And here it's interesting. I'm going to distribute the minus sign. Distribute the minus sign. And so up front, we get a 32y, and 8 times 8 is 64. And then here I get a negative 4y, but notice here I'm going to now get a negative 2. They both get the negative sign, okay? And then, of course, because I distribute, now I combine like terms. So combine like terms. And so I should get a 28y, And these guys here make a 66. Yep, because they're both negative, they just make more negative. And there we go. So on your homework, what you're typing is 28y, like the letter y, and then minus 66. Hit enter. It'll say, great job, keep going, all that kind of stuff. So, cool. Next problem, simplify. Again, notice that this one's just a tiny bit different because what it has is these square brace things, these little brackets. And what they're acting as is just really big parentheses. Okay, so in a way you could just say, oh, well, those are really big parentheses. And that's fine. That's exactly what they are. But the way that the program's showing you these homework questions, it's easier for it to show differentiated parentheses. So they're using square braces, and that's the same as parentheses. Doesn't really matter. So this one's kind of a nested problem. It's deep. And so what I would say is that we're going to start from the inside and work outwards. And I'm going to start then with a negative, distribute the negative. Again, there's going to be a lot of little steps in this one here. So that's a negative 8y, but notice here 2 negatives are going to make a positive 3. Okay, you could definitely replace your square braces, your brackets, with parentheses at this point, and it would be the same thing. And so I want to do combine like terms. I'm going to combine my numbers together. Notice that this is a positive 6. And so what you actually have then is this negative 8y, and then we have these guys will make a positive 9 on the inside. I put the negative 8y in the front just because in my mind it's tradition to put your letters and then your numbers, but either way would still be fine. Continuing to work out, like we distributed, now we combine like terms. Well, now we need to distribute again, and then we can combine like terms again. This is an interesting place where we could diverge in 2 different ways. You could distribute the 2, and then you can distribute your minus sign. Or, if you're daring, you could distribute your negative 2 all at once. And that's what I'm going to do. You can take it slower if you like, and that is okay. But 2 negatives here make a positive in the end. 2 times the 8 is a 16, and then a y. And then I've got a negative 2 times the 9 is going to be a negative 18. Again, we're going to combine like terms. Notice that this is a positive 9. And so we got my positive 16y, and then minus the 9. And that's it. You're done. Very simple. In the end, it's very easy. I'm trying to tell you that it's easy because I'm saying that I know that some of y'all automatically think that it's easy. But at the same time, some of us don't always think it's that easy. Maybe you've been out of math for a while. Some people I've heard, it's been 20 years since I've done any algebra. And I understand, that's fine. That's why you're here. We're going to get you through this class. That's totally cool. But when I say that it's easy, I'm trying to remind you that it's easy, not that like, oh, I'm struggling right now, it's so fast, it's too much. Well, no, I'm not trying to make it sound like you're not doing well. Rather, I want to reinforce that, yeah, we can do this. This is a good thing. I know that you got this. This is an easy problem. Let's just take it step by step and slowly. Okay, don't feel overwhelmed. And that's why I'm trying to go step by step. Every single step I'm going to do with you here, okay? So, this one is big. It's a lot bigger than the other ones, at least it seems. And now we're actually getting this x squared business right here, which is a little different. That's kind of different there. Well, in the end, it's not going to change our answers. We're not really dealing with that x squared here in this problem. Just when you're typing it, you got to have the little power 2, and that's fine, but it doesn't really affect the problem. Let's go through it again, working from the inside out. I have a 3 times the x squared and a 3 times the 8. So we're distributing that 3 to make a 3x squared minus 24, and then still plus the 9. Don't forget that. Combine like terms. And so then we get the, what would that be? 15. I'm just going to verify, okay? It's okay to do this on the calculator. Yep, negative 15. That's okay. I'm proving to you that I would rather get it right and look a little silly, and that's okay. If I get it wrong, and I will get something wrong eventually here. I just know it, and that's fine. We all get problems wrong, even me, even me. And if it seems like I don't do something wrong, I probably edited the video. Ha 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 ha, because I could do that. So, two negatives make a positive 15. I'll still show my mistakes, okay? I still make mistakes. It's going to happen. That's fine. So now we combine like terms again. My x squares together, my numbers together. 15 minus the 3 is going to be a 12x squared. And then we get a positive 16. There's your answer. You're done. All right. So to be able to type this in, there's a few ways. You can do to get that power 2, you could do a shift 6 on the keyboard. It looks like a little caret, little arrow thingy, and it pops it up when you're done with that. So you would do the 12, you would do the 12x, and then you would pop it up, and then it would be kind of like up here. You could put a 2, but if you keep typing up there, it won't be good. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is drop it back down. How to do that often is just arrow to the right. You could also click, I guess. There's a few ways to get down, and then you could just continue typing the plus 16, okay? So that's the quick way with the keyboard. There's obviously buttons that can help you do that to get that pop it up action. So just kind of experiment with the program and see what works best for you. So here I typed it because, well, it's a lot to type and it would be terrible in my terrible handwriting. So I wanted to type it to make it look a little better. It says, write the English phrase, this one right here, and then as an algebraic expression, and then simplify. So this is like a part A, and this is a part B kind of thing, and they say use X as the number. And I'm using quote marks here because I want to. I want to emphasize the quote marks. They don't do that on the problem itself. And so I just wanted to make sure that you see what's going on. So I'm going to actually use a different color here so I can kind of show you as I go. So I'm going to draw this in math from English. So this is going to now go into math. So here we go. The difference. What does difference mean to you? And difference between. So it actually means subtraction, right? Minus or subtraction. And so I'm going to put a subtract. Now here's the thing. It's subtracting two different numbers. Subtract between. There's two different numbers, and we're going to have to fill in what those numbers are going to be here in just a second. 3 times a number. Well, that's pretty easy. 3 times. What is that number? What's the number? It's a x. Okay? And, so that's the, jump to the next side here. 4 more than 2 times the number. Okay, whoa. 4 more plus 2 times the number, 2x. All right, awesome. That actually is your answer. So you would type this in. You don't have to use the parentheses. Oh, I mean, you don't have to use these parentheses. The other parentheses are important. This is correct. That's true. That's good. That's what you need to type in. This is part A. And you're done there, okay? Cool. So a little bit weird, but that's how we work through it. Now we actually need to simplify this guy. And how we do that is I'm going to distribute my negative. So I got a 3x minus the 4 minus 2x. Combine these like terms together. 3 minus the 2 is going to be a 1x minus 4. I wouldn't put a 1x in the final answer. It just kind of looks tacky. And so x minus 4 is your answer. This is part B, okay? So you're done with that problem. That's good. It was kind of weird, of course. But in the end, it wasn't too bad. It really isn't too bad. This problem, however, is bad. So I'm just joking. I'm just joking. It's in the end, it won't be that bad. But there's some times when you come to the homework and you got this problem. It's an application problem. It's got some kind of chart thingy or tons of words, and it's really scary. And I understand that. I don't want to recommend that you just skip over it because I'm going to tell you that this problem right here I've seen on your final exam before. And so it is something that you actually will have to know eventually. And so it's a good thing that we're, preparing it ahead of time. But at the same time, this is a scary problem. There's a lot going on, and it's kind of weird. And I think that I make these lecture videos more specifically for these types of problems here, not the easy ones that you might already know. And so how do we break down this problem? What are we supposed to do? How do I get started, And so first off, let's just talk about it. We got two different models for numbers. I don't really know exactly what they're talking about here, but it doesn't really matter. We got two different models. You got some X's and stuff, and they say that X is years after 2010. As you see, we got a bar chart on the side with a lot of other numbers. Okay. Part A says use the formulas for 2020. And so X is years after 2010. We're going to 2020. I'm going to ask you, what is your X equal to? How many years have transpired from 2010 to 2020? It's 10. And so 10 is going to be the number that we're going to be using for all of our calculations. So what I want to do is plug in a 10 for X, here, get an answer, and then here, and then get an answer, blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I've got 26 times the 10 squared plus the 812 times the 10, and then plus the 15,910. Now, this is definitely calculator. Definitely. If you don't know where the square button is on your calculator, that is fine. I would say just put a 100 in there instead, because that's all you're doing. You can do some simple math here before you actually need to use a calculator, if you want to. But at some point, you're going to have to use a calculator to make this quicker, easier, better, and more accurate. And I got 26,630. 26,630. I think that's dollars. We're talking dollars here. And there you go. So that's kind of part A, but we got to do the other formula now. Again, we're going to plug in here. We're going to plug in a 10 for X. And so then I've got my 815 times the 10, and then plus the 18,372. I'm just typing that directly in to the calculator. Now, I know I'm using my scientific calculator here and not Desmos. I'm not showing you Desmos. It's up to you, okay? This is just simple calculations. You can pull your phone out if you want to for this stuff. It's not really a bother. Now, you can't use a phone during your exam. I just want to remind you of that. But again, we're just multiplying here. We're just adding, not really super, super big time things. It's just basic stuff, okay? All right, so this right here, these are your part A, both of them together, okay? Part A, put them both in. There you go. Now we got to go on to part B, which says, are they over or underestimating the bar chart? And they don't say this exactly. They have some different kind of language. But 2020 is where our focus is. And so we're focused right here on this bar. We're focused on this value. And I want to compare what we have here to this. I want to see what the difference would be. What's the difference between them? And so here we got 26,630 and we got 26,480. Well, mine right here is definitely going to be over by some amount. And I don't know by how much, but how do I find out? I'm going to subtract them. And so I got my 26,630 and I'm going to subtract the 26,480 in my calculator right quick. Again, I'm just verifying. And some of y'all maybe can do this in your head. That's awesome. Not me. That's fine. I got 150. And so I want to remind you that it's $150 over. So my model overestimated it by 150. I'm just going to try to say this is part B here. And so now for the next one, again, I got 26,480 and I got 26,522. This one is still over. And so I want to see again, what's the difference between them? They're not always over. Could be under. If it was under, you still do a subtraction. Nothing new there. I'm sure that the program wants like the positive number. So if it is under, you're still going to want to put like just a positive number and say under. But anyways, here we got an over, and that's fine. So 42 over. So click the over button and type in 42, that kind of thing. So not too bad so far. Part C now says use Model 1 formula, this guy right here, and for 2026. Remember that we started in 2010, and then now they're wanting 2027. Again, 2010 is where we're starting. X is years after 2010. We're going to 2027. How many years? What's my X? 17. And so now I'm just going to plug that into my formula, my Model 1 formula. So I got 26 times 17 squared plus the 812 times 17, and then the 15910. Definitely calculator. I don't know what 17 squared is. That's just 17 times 17. But, I mean, your calculator does the square. Even phone calculators will do that. Almost mistyped it. Be careful. Yep, so 37228 is my answer. They're not wanting to over or underestimate or nothing. They're just saying what's the value, and that's it, okay? Make sure to not type a dollar sign. I know it's dollars and stuff, but I'm always keeping that outside of the box. They just want the number itself. I don't know if commas will actually be a good thing for the program or not, so try it with a comma. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, try it without the comma. I don't know. Just kind of depends on how sensitive it is. Maybe problems, like it might be different on a per problem basis. I don't know. Anyways, so we did the math, and that's good. And that's actually the last question that we have for that homework. So that was nice. If you have any questions, you could always ask me. I'm totally okay with that. Anything you need, we're always here to help. So thank you very much, and have a great day.